want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
We are the Madmen of Masculinity.
Your home for healthy masculinity. We're just real men having real conversations for you.
Good day, Madman Mafia.
You can't handle the truth. I am Kirk M. Samuels.
And I am Jason B. Kendrick.
And we are the Madmen of Masculinity.
That's right, folks. We're just real men having real conversations for you. For you.
For y'all. We decided to, I begged and pleaded. I asked, and finally I was heard. I finally got my way. And I wanted to talk this week, today, about a new book that's out.
What's that?
And excuse me, I begged and pleaded with the author to come on and just kind of and talk about the book. And finally, the author said yes. Finally, the author acquiesced, agreed, twisted his elbow, and he finally came on. And I'm talking about this book right here. This book
What'd you
right
get?
here, man. This guy. Well, I know a guy. The book is called "Facing the Devil in You," written by one and only Mr. Jason B. Kendrick. How you doing, sir? Good to interview you
Doing very
today.
well. Yeah, it's nice to be interviewed instead of doing the interviewing. So yeah, thank you very
No
much, sir.
doubt, man. I'm just gonna, man. I want to, man. This is a platform today, man. I'm curious about the book, man, from your perspective, from the inside out. I always liken it to when you publish a book. It's kind of like giving birth because there's everything that goes into creating the book and making the book and all the stuff that's inside of you. And then all of a sudden you give birth, the book is out, is published, and then you got to raise the book. Then it becomes like a whole life to itself. But either way, there's always a story and an insight behind every book that's published. And man, since you happen to give birth to this new project, man, I figured it'd be a great opportunity to talk about it. Is that all right with you?
Sounds good to me. I appreciate it because you're very correct, sir. Because you go through the labor, you go through all the gestation, you go through all the trimesters, you give birth to this thing, and you think, "Oh, I'm done," and then it's like, "Wait, no, you got to raise it. You got to do all the
Mm-hmm.
legwork. You got to do the promotion. You got to do those things." And doing something like this is really helpful because in some ways it just helps you to get your thoughts out, but also it helps you to realize that this is your baby and that you want other people to enjoy your baby and learn from it. And so, yeah, I mean, this book was a over a decade long process, and to finally have it out and published is pretty amazing. But it's really just kind of my own experience through dealing with my own devils and shadows and demons, and what I learned from that, how I came to deal with them, how I learned to become sober and have sobriety and become much more self-loving and secure within myself by going through this process. And so, yeah, the title may be a little catching and turn some people off because they don't have anything to do with the devil. But I think in most cases, especially in my case, and I think for a lot of other people, once you accept, acknowledge, investigate, understand, and integrate that devil, that shadow, that inner child part of you, you will find a lot more power, a lot more presence, a lot more groundedness within your own life, and a lot more self-love and purpose, I think.
Yeah. Man, I think it's gonna be cool to I want to pitch you just a few questions. Man, it's gonna be hard for you because you're used to interviewing people. Um and so I'm just gonna pitch some stuff out to you, man. So don't go into interviewer mode, man. I want you to
Okay.
just be
I'll be
interviewee,
the
man.
interviewee. All right.
Yeah, just act like you're not good at interviewing people, man. Just just let me do the
I'll
thinking.
do my best. I'll do my best. The floor is yours, sir.
Yeah. That being said, um, I'm sure you had a million other things to do in life, right? Besides write a book. So why'd you write the book? I mean, like, what was the conception of the embryo that led to the birth of this book? Like, what's your why?
Well, it's all about trying to take what I've learned, what I've experienced, and helping others through that, and hopefully saving them some time, and in some ways, even helping myself because the best way to learn something is to teach it. So I go through these processes, I go through my own life journey, I learn things, and now I really want to become a master of them. So I want to write about it, I want to teach it, I want to talk about it because you can't really learn anything without really trying to teach it because everybody has a different perspective, they have a different mindset, and hearing questions and other viewpoints from somebody really helps me to understand why I did this in the first place. Because yeah, I mean, for most of us, it's like I feel like I'm talking to myself. I'm just putting words down on paper. This is just my experience. Nobody wants to read this. Nobody wants to hear this. And then somebody will give you feedback, positive feedback, say, "Oh no, this really helped me," or "I never thought of it that way." And so, in my own little way, I want to make some sort of impact in the universe and try to help some people through the same process that I went through to help myself, and hopefully to save them some time, gain some perspective of my own, even become a master of my own book and my own journey and theology around this work by helping and teaching other people through that modality.
I firmly believe in surrounding oneself with different people that don't necessarily see the things the way you do. Sometimes, I mean, I think there is something to making sure that that you're not open to too many crazy influences in life. But I personally, man, to your point, I make it a habit to not just surround myself with people that think like me. I don't want my mindset to just be an echo chamber of my own biases, my own judgments, and my own opinions. So, I'm glad you kind of, threw that out there right out of the gate, man, because I do think, yeah, I'm secure enough in what I think and what I understand, my judgments, my beliefs, all those kinds of things. To hear other people's opinions and thoughts and perspectives, and to like keep the meat and spit out the bones kind of thing. But there's always something to learn, I think. And one of the problems that we have in this culture and society is that we don't want to hear other people's opinions. We don't want to hear other people's perspectives, and so but in that vein, just in the title is facing the devil in you, and coming back from coming from different perspectives and people's thoughts and beliefs and perspectives. I mean, what do you mean by the devil in some the proverbial antagonist maybe of the title? But what do you mean by that whole concept of what is the devil? I mean, who is the devil to that you're describing in this book?
Well, the devil in the book, in the context I do, is just the negative side of life. We need contrast to have any kind of experience in life. And so most of us try to divide light and dark, good and bad. We try to divide these things. They're honestly, life has no intrinsic meaning. We give everything all the meaning it has for us. And so for a lot of us, our inner child, our addictions, our past programming, our belief systems, our traumas become the devil that runs our life subconsciously. And if we and I know in my experience, I thought I was a victim of this thing. I thought I was a victim to this devil in my life that was causing me to be an alcoholic, that was causing me to be addicted to pornography and sex. It was causing me to have all these issues that was sabotaging my life in the direction I wanted it to go. I wanted to go this way, but I wanted to allow myself to go that way because of the beliefs I had and a lot of these subconscious triggers and patterns I had going on. And it wasn't until I started to dig into, well, what is this devil that's running my life? Where does it come from and why is it there? And I got into the shadow work. I got into the inner child work. I started to realize that for most of us, what we think is this big bad horn devil that's out for our soul is really just a inner child part of us that's doing the best it can to protect us, but it's using an outmoded philosophy and outmoded technique. It's using, something that might have worked as a child, but doesn't work as an adult. And so we have a lot of folks who are very talented, who are very capable, but they keep self-sabotaging because they haven't actually looked deeper and looked into the face of their own devil, looked into the face of that shadow and realized it's not this big, bad, red horned devil that's, fire and brimstone. It's actually just a little child inner part of you that's traumatized and doing the best it can to survive and protect you in the only way it knows how. And so
Mm.
I use the term devil because it's contradictory, it's attention catching, and also because in a lot of ways, if we learn to accept our own devils, demons, shadow, we become a more holistic being. We become more grounded. Because like anything else, anything you shame or hide from, addiction hides in the secrets. Your a lot of the things that you want to heal and get better from, if you don't expose it, if you don't express it, if you don't investigate it, it's just going to fester and make your life worse. So every one of us has a devil, and you and I both have our own devils we've dealt with, whether it's addiction, um, suicidal ideations, whether it's just bankruptcy or relationships. Each one of these things could be termed a devil, and so the term devil is any negative thing that's running your life that you don't want to.
So is the enemy in me?
I would assume so, yes, because for most of us, it's not something outside of us that's running our lives or ruining our lives. It's something within us that we're allowing to because we are too afraid of acknowledging, accepting, and investigating what is this part of me that thinks I'm worthless or not worth enough or unlovable. There's some part of you. And of course, when you have that part of you and you have that belief system, you attract those things. You put yourself in positions to be around those people that resonate with that or exacerbate that same thing. And so you're like, oh, see, I'm a victim of that. It's not me, it's that. But you don't realize the part you're playing, and a lot of times it's just the acceptance. You have that belief system within you that I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable. So this partner resonates with that. This guy who wants to abuse me resonates with that. This partner wants to steal my money and run away and not love me. Well, that resonates with this thought pattern I have, this subconscious thought pattern, which is the devil within you, is that shadow side within you that's running your life that you don't want to be aware of.
Do you think do you think that maybe why a large piece of the population, kind of proverbially anyway, has trouble looking in the mirror, doing self-examination kind of stuff because they don't like what they see?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest what is step one? You have to acceptance. You have to accept that whatever, step one in 12 steps is I accept that I have an issue. I accept that I have a problem. I accept that when I look in the mirror, I don't see love. I see judgment and fear and condemnation and shame. And that's
Mm.
probably where I should start. I should look in the mirror and go, what is my reaction to looking into my own eyes? Why do I have that reaction? And start to investigate from there. Because we all should be loving ourselves. But what do? We say things to ourselves we would never say to anybody else. And why do we do that? Because there's some part of us that we are ashamed of, we feel guilty about, or we hate outright because we have these unconscious beliefs from childhood. And so we externalize that as, oh, the devil's out to get me. He's trying to steal my soul. Oh, these demons, I've got this demon in me or the shadow in me. But those things couldn't be a part of you if you didn't at some level accept it. And it's the acknowledgement, it's the investigation, and it's the unpacking that gets you to the point of, oh, it's not this external thing, it's me. I'm doing it to myself.
Mm. Well, here's what we're going to do to ourselves. We're going to take a break here, and come back and dig more into the kind of the background and the thoughts that go into the book, Facing the Devil in You by the one and only Jason B. Kendrick. This is Madmen of Masculinity, KLDC. We'll be right back. Boom.
Key.
Nice. Is it weird to not be asking questions?
Yes. This is the weird part, to be sitting here and going, oh, I'll just shut up and answer.
Yeah, it's hard for you to shut up.
Really? Yeah, that's like the part
I tell
called
you,
Black.
I tell you what's weird. You would think it's weird. Sprite plus tea.
Oh
They
no,
got
that's
this
pretty good.
drink, Sprite plus tea. Dude, it's good, man. I mean, it's good. I
I'm all
mean,
about the
you know,
Arnold Palmer's, tea and lemonade. I mean, you
yeah,
throw some Sprite in there, it's a little
yeah,
bubbly. I'm sure it's got to be
yeah.
good.
This is Sprite plus tea, man. These things don't mess around. Problem is, I drink a bunch of them.
Don't do that. You'll
Let's
get
see,
diabetes.
140 calories, 37 grams of sugar. Nice. A couple of those will shut down your immune system in a day. Anyhow, all right, here we go. Let's
Easy.
get back to it. We're back. The Madmen of Masculinity on KLDC, 12:20 a.m. in the Mile High City and on the interwebs everywhere. your boys be doing it to it, man, doing our thing, man. And
Yeah, this is
today,
a weird one, man. I'm getting interviewed. This is weird for me.
today the asker is now the answerer. And we are kind of digging into Facing the Devil in You by the one and only Mr. Jason B. Kendrick. Um, and yeah, we're just talking about, man, the enemy being envy. And that's man, that's a scary thing for a lot of people, because it's real easy when you point the finger at the other person in the relationship, or when you point the finger at the other political party, or when you point the finger at your parents or your whomever. But ultimately, when it comes down to it, I firmly believe, I'm with you on that one. I firmly believe that, man, if you want to start changing the world, start in the mirror.
Yeah. Yeah, it's something that, I mean, you asked me in the first segment about why I wrote it, and it's just kind of my journey. I spent 30 years as a functioning alcoholic. I was addicted to sex and pornography, and some of those things rear their ugly heads occasionally, but for the most part now, I'm very grounded in the fact that I don't need those things to soothe anymore. And it's really, I did all this personal development. I did a lot of therapy. I mean, not as much as some people, more than a lot of people, but what came down to is that I would do all this personal development. I'd see people getting their breakthroughs. I would go to therapy and see people having their breakthroughs and healing their lives and going, well, I guess there's something just really wrong with me because this stuff's just
Mm,
not working. And then it wasn't until I got to internal family system and got into internal family work or into inner child work and really dug down into, well, where does this stuff come from? Why do I have this self-sabotage streak? Why do I have this need to feel like I need to soothe myself? And why do I feel like this need to demonize myself and feel ashamed of myself? And when I really dug down deep, it was these small inner child parts of me that had been traumatized from the way I grew up, from my parents. Well-meaning parents a lot of times can traumatize children because they're passing on what they got in their childhood. They're passing down the trauma that they received. A lot of times they don't realize what they say or what they do that can traumatize a child. And sometimes I think it's very hard for parents to, try to be perfect. But it's like your kid's gonna be traumatized one way or the other. But a lot of times, if you can be open and honest and allow them to express themselves, and you can work through it together. But in my experience, it was all on me. I learned to isolate and to be on my own. And so after all these years of trying to fix myself and go and spending all these thousands of dollars and thousand hours to do all this personal development and therapy and all these things, it wasn't until I got into internal family system and inner child work that I was really like, oh, that's what's running my life. That's why I feel so ashamed. That's why feel the need to soothe with alcohol and sex and drugs and all these different things.
mm,
And
mm.
now it's almost to the day, a year sober, and feeling a lot more like myself and a lot more grounded because I feel a lot more love and compassion for myself, whereas before I felt a lot of hatred and shame.
Mm. When you talk about like parental issues, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but like if it's a trauma, anything, or maybe different experiences that we've had that come through our parents, that came through their parents, that came through their parents, and a lot of us can pass down to our kids and those kind of things. Sounds like, I mean, do you think there's some measure of these maybe good, but also maybe negative cycles that we just kind of perpetuate, or even live throughout our whole life?
I believe so. I think, I mean, there's the whole, the sins of the father passed down for 7 generations thing. And I think that's because we're unaware. And I know in my experience, it wasn't like my parents were evil or mean. They were just doing the best they could. But because of how they grew up, there was not a lot of emotional intimacy. There was not a lot of, how are you doing and how are you feeling? It was like, you're fed, you got a roof over your head, your clothes. What else do you need? I got work to do. I'm busy. And so being the only child, I was on my own a lot. And I just learned from the way my father grew up and the way he raised me just to stay out of the way, don't rock the boat, be seen and not heard sort of thing. And so with that lack of emotional intimacy and being an only child and being isolated and being a latchkey kid and being on my own all the time, I just developed this kind of isolationist mindset of, well, nobody's going to take care of me. Nobody's going to be there for me. So I got to take care of myself and watch out for myself, which really kind of doesn't help out a lot when you want to have relationships, or doesn't help out a lot when you want to build a business, or doesn't help out a lot when you want to do something bigger in the world, because we all need help and we all need relationships and companionship. And throughout the years, I just kept developing coping mechanisms. Instead of finding out what the issue was and why I do that, I was just masking it, stuffing it, and soothing it with alcohol and drugs and partying, which most of us do. We feel a certain thing, we don't investigate why we feel that way, and then we just mask it and bury it. And that's what becomes the devil, because the more you do that, the more that energy seeks escape, and the more drastic that escape becomes. It's just like becoming an addict. The first time you hit the pipe or you took a drink, wow, that's amazing. But then each time after that, you need a little more, and a little more, and a little more to get that same feeling, to soothe a little more. And then it becomes out of control. And it does turn into a devil or a demon. Then you're like, I don't know why I do all this stuff. I don't know why my life sucks so bad, because you allowed this one little thing that you didn't investigate to exacerbate over the years. And then it turned into your devil. It turned into your demon, and it starts to run your life.
You mentioned the word isolation. Do you think that there's and this is just something that popped into my mind as you were speaking about that. Do you think there is a correlation or relationship between the concepts of isolation versus separation, or vice versa?
Well, I mean, isolation is not in itself a bad thing. A lot of times I think isolation can be a good thing, so you can hear your own self, you can be grounded in your own presence. Some people, I know a lot of folks cannot be by themselves. They're addicted to company, they're addicted to distraction. But I think when it comes to personal separation, like separation from yourself, that's a lot bigger. It's almost to the point of like, isolation from the family unit. When you feel like you're separated from the world, you feel like you're even separated from yourself, that's a bigger issue than just isolation. Isolation just, you can be by yourself, but of course we're communal beings. We're all about relationships. So too much isolation, even if it's good isolation, quote unquote, can be bad. Just like too much separation. But the biggest isolation, the biggest separation I think most of us are dealing with, that we need therapy and counseling and stuff for, is isolation and separation from ourselves. We're so ashamed of and feel less worthy of love and companionship and all these good things in life, that we tend to stuff and soothe and use whatever we can to medicate the pain away. And each time we do that, I think we isolate more, separate more from our core self. And like for me, it was the inner child part, getting back in touch with the inner child part of myself that was initially traumatized, and creating a relationship, re-raising that part, having compassion and love for that part, and reintegrating that part. Then now I'm not these pieces of me separated out in the world. I'm more and more whole as I continue to do this work. And it's one of those things, it's not a one stop shop. It's not a one time fix. It's constant. You're going to constantly have the same reactions, but the more you do it, the better you get at it. The more you can kind of go, oh, that's little Jason freaking out right now. So I can calm him down and have a little talk and show him some love, compassion. And so maybe now he won't react as badly, and I won't need to soothe or use these behaviors that I don't want to do.
I want to get to the inner child stuff, but before that, I want to. There's something I think from a man perspective, masculine perspective anyway, in our culture, that could use like a minute or two of exploration. And so I want to get your take on the difference between a man being alone and a man being lonely.
Hmm. I think for most men, alone is not bad. I mean, alone is good. That's when you can find your foundation as who you are. You know your strengths, you know your weaknesses. But being lonely is just being separated and not feeling like you're a part of something. There's nothing wrong with being by yourself. But if you're, and that's true too, even in a group, there's a lot of folks. I know I had this experience a lot in my life, was that I could be in the middle of a party, I could be in the middle of a crowd and still feel lonely, because I didn't feel connected to anybody around me. I didn't feel like I belonged. I didn't feel like I was part of the group, if it will. And so I think lonely is a lack of connection with self, and then which exacerbates into a lack of connection with others. And so, like anything else, like you said, you must first start in the mirror. Do I feel comfortable on my own? Do I like the person I see in the mirror? Do I feel happy and loving towards myself? Because that will make you feel like you belong no matter where you are. If you
Mhm.
have self love and compassion for yourself, then no matter whether you're by yourself or in a crowd of millions, you'll still feel like you belong.
Yeah. And what I hate is whenever the news flash comes across your feed or timeline or cell phone or headline on TV that there was some kind of mass, uh, I don't know how to say it without flagging it. There's some mass incident where a
Incident.
lot of people were terminally hurt. Put it that way. Y'all know what I'm talking about. But when that comes across where there's some mass whatever casualty event, you can almost predict that the very next thing is going to come across is it was a lone man,
Mhm.
a lone man that did this thing. And it's almost to a T, like a lone man goes off and does these things. And I almost wonder if, that lone is the root word of both words, alone and lonely. But in actuality, I don't know if a man is truly in touch with himself, if he can if he can do those kind of things. And so that's why I wonder if there's a difference between alone and lonely in terms of isolated and cut off and separated from society.
Yeah, I believe there's a lot of work that needs to be done for men nowadays to get them reintegrated with themselves and and back in touch with who they are, the little boy with inside them that's screaming for love and compassion and affection. Because if they had that relationship, if they didn't feel so alone and isolated and separate from that part of themselves, that core part of themselves, I doubt they would do these things. But like most things that we deal with in this society today, it starts off with this, oh, there's this incident, there's this trauma with my inner child self, but I don't want to deal with that, or we don't talk about that in my family. So then that gets stuffed away. And then it starts to rot and um, turn into this bigger thing. It just grows like the snowball effect. It just keeps getting bigger and exacerbating and getting bigger. And then it turns into lashing out because now instead of looking inward, we're looking outward. Where is this pain coming from? Why do I feel this pain? Oh, it must be their fault. It must be this group's fault or this societal person's fault or this thing's fault. It's not my fault because I don't want to look at myself. And so for most men nowadays, I think getting back in touch with our inner child, getting back in touch with that small part of ourselves that is the core of who we are, will help us in so many ways, but in a lot of ways, just to be more loving of self, more grounded, and more foundational, and to feel less isolated alone. Because I mean, if you feel whole within yourself, whether you're with people or not, you're still going to feel better and feel more like you belong than if you didn't.
Because what you never hear, like literally never hear, is guys that do that kind of stuff play golf with buddies the weekend before.
Yeah.
You never hear guys that do that kind of stuff was at their monthly men's group meetup a couple weeks ago or a week ago or this week. You never hear those guys having a friend circle or having a social circle or having connection, which is again why this whole idea just really haunts me in terms of the facing the devil in you. So speaking of facing the devil in you by the one and only Mr. Jason B. Kendrick, we're gonna keep delving into this kind of stuff, man. You brought up a couple things that definitely deserve some digging deep when we get back from this break. Madmen and Masculinity, KLDC will be right back. Oh, man, I'm telling you, yeah. I mean, for guys to be able to look inside, man, is man, and face that thing. That thing is the destructive thing that we all gotta. That's the bridge we all gotta cross.
It's so huge, and it's. I mean, we should talk more about how being in groups really helps with that because you get isolated, you think you're the only one, and then you start to make it worse and worse and worse. Versus
Yeah,
talking with guys and be like, "Oh, it's not just me."
yeah, yeah. I want to hit that in the fourth segment, for sure. I want to talk about this inner child stuff.
Yeah.
Uh, all right, here we go.
All right.
We're back. Mad Men of Masculinity, KLDC, Mile High City, 12:20 a.m. all over these filthy airways, man. Up here in the mile high up in the altitude, man. Altitude where we got, thin air and some smoky air at the same time, if you know what I'm talking about in Colorado. it is what it is, man. You drive down the street, it's just Colorado, man. Mile High has a couple different meanings around here. Um, that's a weird tangent but anyhow, we're
Squirrel.
getting. I don't know where that came from, other than that could be somebody's devil, man, that they need to face.
Uh-huh.
Facing the Devil in You by the one and only Mr. Jason B. Kendrick, and we're digging into some of this stuff, man. We brought up a minute ago the idea of the inner child. I once told somebody, I don't remember who it was, that when I realized that my adult me has been the man that's been trying to protect the little boy that was abandoned, neglected, and abused back in the day. Once I realized that, half of my motivation was just protecting him, I realized, man, if you heal the boy, I think that's a quote, matter of fact.
Mhm.
If you heal the boy, you create the
Real
man, or
man.
something like that. I'm gonna look
Yeah.
that up. But man, just that. What's your take on the whole inner child concept?
Well, for me, that was the key. That was you're looking for the core, the seed, the one thing that is causing all these issues. And for me, it was that isolated, lonely inner child. My father being critical like he was because his parents were critical and he didn't feel worthy enough or have the self love. And so his form of parenting was very critical. And so I learned to isolate and to hide and to be sneaky because as long as dad doesn't see me and I don't catch his attention, I'm cool. And so a lot of those critical moments, a lot of those things where, I would come up with some idea, kids have dreams and goals and things they want. I remember asking once because he was a private pilot. It's like, oh, I want to be a pilot. And instead of being like, hey, son, it's a lot of work, it's a lot of studying. I think I was 12 at the time. He took like this phone book size. Yeah, kids, a phone book is a very big book that used to have phone numbers in it, but it was phone book size. I mean, it was huge book and dropped it on the table from me. He's like, there you go. That's what you have to read. That's what you have to study. That's what you have to learn if you want to be a pilot. And at 12 years old, I was like, I'm good. That's way too much work. I don't want to do none of that. But those things like that, where he was in his own way, either trying to inspire me or just trying to give me a reality check of the world, caused me to be traumatized and to think less of myself, caused me to develop these patterns of soothing and addiction and stuff because I didn't feel good enough about myself because, well, if dad doesn't like me, then there must be something wrong with me. But as I've gotten older, I've realized that that was just his way of dealing with his own stuff. And then he passed down his stuff to me. And so, like any man nowadays, it's incumbent upon us to realize it's not up to dad anymore. And like in my case, in your case, dad's gone. Can't blame him anymore. It's up to us to fix it. So you got to do the inner child work and dig into because what's really interesting to me and what I found in my own process is that this big bad devil, this shadow, this demon that I've been fighting for 30 years was just this little part of me that just wanted some love and attention, but I was too busy soothing and distracting myself instead of investigating and digging out and going deep and finding out, well, why am I that way and what's causing this?
Yeah, man. I think, our generation that grew up drinking out of the water hose and just being home before the streetlights came on. I think that's a common occurrence in our culture. Just the idea of self-soothing, um, you know, and and not only that, but what we got from our parents was some of it was an extension of theirs. Yeah, when I look back at my dad, to your point, man, I can get exactly what you're saying because he was abused in a whole lot of different ways growing up, and so that's not an excuse. Um, but to me, it helps me humanize him, as opposed to demonize him. And it also helps me point in the mirror and say, okay, well, okay, I can't do anything about that in the past. I can't do anything about him, but I sure enough can do something about, you know, making sure the buck stops here and making sure I heal that inner child. But so when you talk about that inner child and the healing of that inner child, I mean, where does that begin? Like, how does somebody do that?
Well, the internal family system model, which is the one that worked for me, you have to understand that there's pieces and parts of us. There's another therapist that called it part system reintegration. But within us, there's lots of parts and pieces. And if you ever stop and listen to the voices in your head, one sounds like dad, one sounds like mom, one sounds like somebody else. And you have all these different voices in your head, all trying to say different things or trying to protect you or do good by you with their own version. That's the internal family system. That's the internal family. And so you have to start to look into first, you start by what is it I'm struggling with? What is it I'm trying to soothe? What, is it not feeling enough? Is it not feeling lovable? And then you start to peel back those layers and start to dig in. Well, start asking questions. Well, why don't I? Where's that coming from? And what you tend to do is run into what we call managers and firefighters. There's a part of you that once that inner child part broke off, we call those exiles. The exiled part is the traumatized part of you that we don't want to be harmed anymore. We want to protect that part. So we put that part in the corner and like hide it in the closet. And then there's this manager part of you that manages you away from triggering that part. So you got to negotiate with the manager to allow you to even talk to the little part. Well, not only are there managers, there's the firefighter parts. And a lot of us with addictions, that's the firefighter part. Because now we're not even trying to manage away from the triggers. We're just trying to soothe, we're trying to put out the fire. So that comes in the alcohol, that comes in the drugs, comes in this, whatever the soothing modality is, medication. And you negotiate with those parts. You tell them, hey, I'm the older version. I'm not the 3, 4, 5-year-old little boy anymore. I'm grown now. I can handle this. Let me talk to the little version. You make friends with the managers and firefighters, then you talk to the exile part of you. And what you'll find is that part of you that's doing the best it can to protect you still thinks you're 4, 5, 6 years old, still thinks you're the same age when the trauma happened. And so it's using that same modality to try to quote unquote protect you. So when you go, hey, I'm 40, 50 years old now. I don't need you to try to protect me more. Let me protect you. Let me take care of you. And then you reintegrate that part of you. And when you can reintegrate those parts, you can actually reintegrate the managers and firefighters too. So all these parts that we had, when we were kids and we're wild and gregarious and we had no fear. We go talk to any stranger. We go do whatever we want to do. And then over time, we became more and more isolated, more and more safety conscious, became more and more fearful. It's because those little parts get broken off. And as we heal those parts and dig into that inner child part of us, we start to regain some of that passion. We start to regain some of that love for life and some of that fun loving attitude because now we don't have protect anymore. And a lot of times it's just a reality check. Like, oh, all this stuff I'm afraid of, 99% of it never happens. I'm just making up a story. Why am I making up a story? Well, I'm trying to protect myself. Why am I trying to protect myself? Well, this part of me is afraid that if I do this, this will happen again. Well, that's probably not true. But we don't know that until we start to dig in and start to have conversations, start to re-raise that inner child part of you and reintegrate it. The more we reintegrate, the more we get those managers and firefighters and exiled inner child parts reintegrated, the more whole we become.
Everything you just said sounds a whole lot like another concept that a guy named Sigmund Freud developed: the id, the ego, and the superego. It being the primal part of us, the superego being the morals and values, and the ego being the part that gets to choose, balancing all of those together. So, do you think that there's uh, in a lot of times when we contextualize, when we use the word ego, I think we use it incorrectly based on the his 3-part personality theory. But do you think that that ego plays a role in everything you just described, as far as the integration of all the different parts of who we are and our past? And
Yeah, I mean, I even put a chapter in there, the function of the ego, because the ego is one of those things that has gotten a bad rap over the years. And depending on which philosophy you use, there's lots of philosophies out there like, oh, you've got to kill the ego and you've got to suppress the ego because the ego is the evil inside you. The ego is just a part of you that's all about physical survival. It's all about the body. It's a part of the body once your body survive. But for the ego, homeostasis and status quo is survival. So even if you're an alcoholic or you're obese or you're doing something that's unhealthy for you, the ego would rather keep you stagnant and in that because that's safety. You can handle that. The devil you know is better than the devil you don't. So it doesn't want you to change. It wants you to stay within this, safe homeostasis, this safe place that it understands. So the known is what it knows. And so the ego will fight you when you're trying to do better, when you're trying to make changes, because it doesn't like change. It doesn't like newness. Even though that's for the best, even though that it's going to be better for you, the ego is still going to fight because that's different. Change is scary to the ego. And it's all about keeping you in the brackets, keeping you in the same box that it knows and can control. And so that's what we tend to have a lot of issues. And then when you break the ego down into managers and firefighters and inner child exiles, you see why it's such a struggle, because now you got to negotiate with these 3 different parts of you for this one issue. And as you negotiate with that part of you, then there's something else that comes up. And so it's this constant negotiation and re-education of all the little parts of you. And the biggest thing, or the reason I entitled it Facing the Devil, the reason I talk about devil and shadow and demon, is we demonize these parts of us we don't want to address. And by demonizing them, then we don't look at them, we don't address them, we just try to shove them away. Well, that's what causes all the issues. If you address your demons and devils and shadow side with love and compassion and understand it's just trying to protect you, you go a long way, much further way into healing than you would if you didn't.
Yeah, I told my son one time as we approach a break here, but I told my son one time that every superhero has a sad backstory. And if we were to look at that sad backstory, we can always find strength in that. Like in reality, if you study the character of Batman, he's really a villain that just hates bad people. And so, for us to grapple with that, man, um, do you think that being able to face the shadow side of us is kind of the beginning of discovering our superpower?
Oh, absolutely. I believe, and we've talked about this on other episodes too, but when you no longer have anything to hide, when you've accepted all your shameful parts and your shadow parts and your demons and devils, then nobody has anything to use against you. There's no ammunition. And when you can accept those parts of yourself, you accept those parts of others. It makes you more foundational, makes you more powerful, more strong, but it also makes you more compassionate towards others. So instead of having 2 shadows arguing with each other and 2 people blaming each other and shaming each other, you can go, oh, I have that same issue within myself. I can understand where this guy's coming from and show a little compassion and restraint instead of constantly blaming and pointing fingers. You can, and it makes you much more powerful. It really, I think, integrating your devilish side, the shadow side, your demons, making those a part of yourselves and accepting them. I mean, if you think about it, when you don't, you're cutting off half of yourself. That's part of you. But when you shame it and try to shove it away, you're giving away half of yourself. And so you're much more powerful. You're much more whole when you can accept and integrate all those parts of yourself. And then you have much more to offer the world at large.
Yeah. That's a strange concept for a lot of people, but I think once you grasp that, I look at somebody like Ray Lewis, Hall of Fame NFL linebacker, who's a motivational speaker, who's gifted, who can inspire anybody. And at the same time, if you ever look at highlights of when he was on the field, I mean, he was basically a demon on the field. And so being able to tap in, it's the same person, but being able to tap into one can give you a superpower that doesn't take away from your ability, or maybe even adds to your ability to shine your light. So we're gonna take this break, man, our last break, and then we're gonna come back and wrap this conversation up. Facing the devil and you, the one and only, I'm covering up the name at the bottom, Jason B. Kendrick, our guy, half of the madmen of masculinity. And we're covering that on 12:20 a.m. in the Mile High City. We'll be right back. Boom. We'll get to some good solutions,
Yeah.
namely the group and the group stuff and all that kind of junk. There we go.
Yeah,
Nice.
the last part of the book I put in my like 5-6 steps of really
Yeah.
digging into it.
Um, but yeah, man, I mean that's a weird concept for a lot of guys to grasp, but
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like even
when you're
Jordan Peterson
able to,
says, when he's talking about, a dangerous man, a good man is a dangerous man that has it under control. It's kind of the same
yeah,
thing. You have the demon under control and you use it for
mhm,
good.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And like I said, man, if you look at all of those superheroes, man, the superhero in them, you know, that alter ego, the superhero in them comes out when times get tough.
Yeah.
And they can use that the pain, the hurt, the disappointment, the neglect, all those kinds of things that happen to them to make them into a superhero for good. Um, so yeah, that's good stuff. All right, let's wrap this joint up.
All right,
Here
cool.
we go. Here we go. All right, fourth quarter time. Mad Men of
Yeah, yeah.
Masculinity,
It's
KLDC on the
do it.
interwebs, everywhere, all over all the podcast platforms, all that kind of
Yes,
stuff. We ain't
sir.
hard to find, man. YouTube channels,
Holla
you
at you,
know, like,
boys.
subscribe. It's free to hit the like button. It's free to hit the subscribe button. You can unsubscribe later, but I mean, who
Oh, you
unsubscribes
can.
themselves? Because it's like, I mean, just dude, it's free, but it helps out your brothers big time.
We
One day
appreciate
we're
you.
gonna get YouTube to send us a check. One of these
Yeah,
days.
man.
Um,
It's coming.
one day we'll make $1 from all of the stuff that we do.
Yeah. $1
But
back. I got my rebate.
well, one day we'll get $1 back from all this stuff, man. Right now it's a passion project and we love it, man. We love this kind of stuff, digging into the stuff that doesn't normally get talked about, man. And today we're talking about Facing the Devil in You by the one and only Mr. Jason B. Kendrick, new
I,
book.
I have a
But I mean,
question for you, sir.
no. Before we do that, where can folks find the book, man?
You can find it on Amazon. I've got the e-book, the physical book, the audio book will be coming out in a month or two. You can get all three versions if you want. If you want a signed copy, you can always get on jasonbkendrick.com or you can email me at jasonbkendrick@hotmail.com and I will send you a signed copy. There's lots of ways you can find the book and there'll be more and more as time goes on. I'll get this thing distributed to all the Barnes and Nobles at some point.
Nice, nice. All right, man. Was your question for me pertaining to the book? Because don't be taking
Well,
the focus off of you. You love taking the focus off of you, man.
in a way, I mean, I just wanted you to think about it. It's one of my favorite quotes. I mean, you're a Batman fan, so you'll know this quote. But Mr. Kirk M. Samuels, have you ever danced with the devil in the pale moonlight?
I have, man. I have. Sometimes it's hand to hand combat too, man.
Mm.
Sometimes it's, man, when you have those dark nights of the soul, man, I call it my rock bottom. I mean, my rock bottom, and I've had a lot of valleys, but I think in my life, at least thus far, and regardless, it would probably be considered the most rock bottom part of my life. Oh man, it was hand to hand combat, man. It was hand to hand combat with I mean, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that night. I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be alive had I lost that battle.
Yeah,
But then on top of that, my pain wouldn't have become my purpose had I not fought that battle. So yes,
yeah.
I've danced with the devil in
Well,
the pale
it's a conversation I've had with some other friends, like Benjamin Drake from Step Seven. We talked about on the golf course
moon.
one day, and I was like, I like to reclassify things, like to redefine things, like to put it in a new perspective. And I started to think, I had talking to him about it. I sometimes think that the concept of the devil, especially in religion, is really God's drill instructor. It's the trainer, because you see all the people who survive it and come out the other side, like you, who've had the rock bottom moments,
Mhm.
who survived that battle, and you come out the other side scarred, but you come out impassioned and driven, and you want to make the world a better place. And since you've had that battle and you've had those scars, you had that experience, you're so much more prepared to help others through that same dark night of the soul.
Absolutely, man. I mean, you get qualified through life.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't. I personally think, a lot of people think that God calls the qualified, and I think that God qualifies the call. When the bat light comes shines in the sky, that's when it's time to rock and roll for Batman. I mean, um, so yeah, man. I mean, I think when you do go through that stuff, you are equipped to go into some dark places with other people because you know what that's like. And you talked about the firefighter and those sorts of things. But man, when you can go into some dark places and come back out like a Navy SEAL,
Yeah.
man, you're better off at it. You can do some things that other people can't do. So
Yeah.
I
Well,
totally.
it's the acknowledging, making friends with, and loving those parts of you that most of us shun and demean.
um,
And when you make friends with your inner devil, you make friends with your shadow, and you integrate them. There's the old Cherokee story that everybody gets wrong in the West for some reason, where they talk about there's two wolves inside me. It's all about the one you feed. Well, the original Cherokee story is like if you respect both, if you honor both, then they don't fight. If you honor the fact that you have a devil inside you, you honor the fact that as a man, you have the capability of taking somebody else out, and you have that capability. I mean, we both know people who are highly trained martial artists and highly trained, people in the military, And those are some of the sweetest, nicest people in the world. And the reason is they
Mhm.
know their dark side. They have accepted it and they know how to use it. It's when you don't know how to use it. You see, the loudest guy in the room is usually the most fearful. The loudest
Mhm.
guy in the room is usually one that's the most afraid. And it's because he doesn't know his shadow. He doesn't know how to protect himself. So he thinks the only way to protect himself is to be the loudest and quote unquote scariest. But those of us who know better know better. We know he's just
Yeah.
afraid.
And I don't think we do a great job in our culture of preparing young men to be
Hmm.
fighters. To not be afraid to fight. When we grew up, if you had a problem with somebody in school, you meet at the flagpole at 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
And you just handle
Take
whatever
it
you had to
outside.
handle, and it was over. You didn't take it out on everybody, kind of thing. And when my son was in middle school and he had racist bullies picking on him, I told him, man, next time somebody gets in your face, punch them in his. I mean, and I take care of the consequences.
Yeah.
Don't you worry about that. I got that part, but I'm not raising a sucker, right? I'm not raising somebody that's afraid to stand up for himself and allowing somebody to bully him, because if he doesn't stand up for himself, he won't stand up for his country. He won't stand up for his beliefs. He won't stand up for his family. None of those kinds of things. And so, yeah, the idea of learning how to fight is the best way to be a peacemaker.
Well, and also the idea of learning how to accept all parts of yourself. I mean, if you
Mhm.
accept every little, you know, talent, every little fault, every little trait that you have, there's no ammunition everybody else uses against you.
Mhm.
Oh, you dummy, you so short, or you're so this, or you're so this. It's like you're like, and yeah, I'm
Mhm.
short, or yeah, and I'm this or that. What, like, as long as
Mhm.
the issue with insults that most people don't realize is that the reason you get upset is because some parts of you believe that. Like if I called you
Mhm.
a three-horned purple dinosaur, you'd be like, "Pff, whatever." But if I'm like, hey, your
Mhm.
hair's falling out, some part of you gets upset because you're like, yeah, my hair's falling out, or I'm going bald, or I'm overweight, or whatever the thing is. And so when you can accept those parts of yourself, the good, bad, and the ugly, nobody can
Yeah.
insult you.
Yeah, that's kind of like that scene in 8 Mile where Eminem just kind of
Mhm.
he
Let
ate
me
the
tell you
other
about
guy
me.
up he just put himself down with all the stuff that the other guy was gonna say. And yeah, I remember the day I took my story back, and I owned my story, and I put it out there in public. And yeah, to your point, after that, it's like, okay, so what you know what is somebody else gonna say about me? And
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, now, but before we run out of time here, though, we got to get some solutions to some guys, man. We got to get some answers. And so, how does somebody accept and acknowledge just the shadow side, whatever you want to call it, the shadow side, the devil side, your enemy in me, all those kinds of things? I mean, how does somebody like put their hands on that and not only acknowledge it but accept it, but then move forward in life with those things?
Well, I mean, the first step in all 12 steps is to accept, acknowledge. So you have to acknowledge the fact, you have to acknowledge the reality that you have this part of you. And then you have to accept it. And those usually go hand in hand, unless you're just being a sucker and a punk and you don't want to accept the fact that you have this thing and you're still trying to lie to yourself. It's a hard pill to swallow. But once you say, yes, I have this thing. Yeah, I'm an alcoholic. Yeah, I'm a sex addict. Or yeah, I'm overweight, whatever your thing is. You accept it, acknowledge it. Yep, that's true. And it's really that easy. Yep, that's true. Well, now what? Well, how about now we get into a little understanding, or a little yeah, investigation and integration. You want to investigate that part. You investigate, well, why do I feel that way? Why do I have this thing? And as you investigate that part, you'll uncover the inner child part. You'll uncover the traumas. You'll uncover the stories that you have within you, and then you integrate those parts. You don't keep them separate from you. You integrate, like, and own that. And then when you get to understanding, okay, now I've investigated and integrated. I know where it comes from. I've owned that part. I've reintegrated that within myself. Now I understand it. Once you have understanding, then you can utilize it. Now you can utilize what used to be faults to be your strengths, to make you the bulletproof Superman that nobody can harm you now because you own those things. And now you can help others with those same issues without judgment, with compassion, with love, because you're bulletproof now. Nobody can hurt you because you own your stuff. And now you can help somebody else own their stuff.
Man, and then and then from there, that is a very empowering place to be, if I may. I mean, if I could if I could give a positive judgment, I guess you could say to everything you just said. It's empowering when you can be that way, man. When you can walk around in confidence. Do you think part of that is having a solid foundation of friendships and relationships, and for men, other men in your life?
Well, I mean, sure, anybody can do stuff on their own, but if you want to, what's the old saying? You want to go fast, go alone. You want to go far, go together. It's much easier and it's much more impactful, and it'll make you feel much better about yourself if you're doing this work with other people. Because when you got guys around you who will probably do it with you, because we as men, we learn shoulder to shoulder, we bond shoulder to shoulder, we're in the trenches together. If you got guys around you and you're struggling with something, but you're talking to your guys about it, they're going to be honest with you because you've been brave enough to be honest with them. They will tell you what they're struggling with, and you can struggle together. You build those muscles together, you build that bond together, you build that love together. Having guys around you makes your life that much easier. You'll progress that much further, and you will have a much more impactful life by having a group of guys around you.
Mm. So I mean, how do guys get a group of guys around them?
Well, there's a couple places you can go. We advocate Be Men, bemen.org, because we're both on the board. We love Be Men. We love Zach and the guys. We love putting on our men's summit every year. If you're not in the Denver area, if Be Men doesn't sound like your thing, there's, the Order of Men, there's the Mankind Project, there's your church, there's your counselors, there's your therapists, there's the basketball team, the golf team. There's always some club somewhere. Get out of your house, get off your couch, put the Cheetos down, go outside and hang out with some other guys. And that will lead you down the path to generating a group, a squad, a crew, a gang, whatever you want to call it. But you got to get out of the house and get off the couch.
Yeah. I firmly believe, and this is something I say all the time, that I don't know that a man is fully ready for an intimate relationship with a woman until he can be in a non-sexual intimate relationship with a man, with other men. In other words, to be able to share life, walk through life, open up with, be vulnerable with, all those kinds of things with other men in a safe environment. Like I said, none of these lone men that go out and do all these crazy things to, mass casualties. None of them played golf last weekend with their buddies. And none of them was on the softball team and, hit a home run last weekend or whatever. None of them are in a social group of social people. And so, I mean, this is something that's vitally important, man. So what kind of closing thoughts you got for Facing the Devil in You
Hmm.
by Jason
Well,
B. Kendrick? What kind of closing thoughts you got?
first and foremost, pick up your copy, share it with your friends. And if you are dealing with something, if you're struggling with something, there's some part of you that needs healing, needs love, needs compassion. And that's the devil in you, that's the shadow in you, that's the demon in you. But once you realize that underneath that devil mask, underneath the shadow, underneath all that bravado, it's just a small part of you that just needs love and attention and needs to be reintegrated and reparented by you. It's not that hard, it's not that difficult. It just takes a little bit of courage. And there's guys around you that can help if you just get brave enough to say, hey, I need help. We're those guys. We love you.
Facing the Devil in You by the one and only Mr. Jason B. Kendrick, our guy. I mean, man, that's the book we're talking about today. Go check it out, Amazon. Check him out. Reach out to him. He'll send you a personalized copy. Pretty sure if you ask him nice enough, he'll find a way to make that happen. This is Kirk and Samuels and Jason B. Kendrick. Did
Yes,
I cut you
sir.
off?
No, you're good.
Right on. Madman of Masculinity. Holler at your boys. Check out our YouTube, Facebook, all that kind of stuff. And hit like, subscribe. It don't cost you nothing. Don't be a chump. For real. We will holler at y'all next time. And until then, you're madmen. We are OUT
Out.
out.